Welcome to Liberty Talk Canada. I'm Odessa Orlowitz, and I have a guest that deserves so much accolade for the commitment that he has put in to making the best report I have ever read. It is extremely thick, but it needed to be thick so he could show our government and our politicians what the statistics are saying about what has happened in the last 2.5 years. I would like to bring in Ken Drysdale, the author of Investigation into Criminal Allegations Concerning the C-19er, have to say it that way for censorship, response. Hi, Ken.
Nice to meet you, Odessa. Thank you for having me on.
Well, I know that Ted Kuntz from V-Choice Canada, he did a whole thing on how incredible this report is and that we all need to get it out to the politicians, the doctors, to everybody. And you need help from people that are in this industry of YouTubing, etc., to get the word out. Your report is incredible. So Ken, so where do you live, first off?
We live just north of Winnipeg, up on Lake Winnipeg, on the shores of beautiful Lake Winnipeg, which is frosty and icy right now.
And tell me what you did do for a living. You've retired, and what made you say, I got to do something?
Well, I was a professional engineer, or still am a professional engineer, for 41 years, and I was involved mainly in the high Arctic, and the other specialty I had was forensic engineering. So if something blew up, fell down, broke, or somebody got hurt, generally speaking, I would prepare expert witness testimony for court cases that would result.
Yeah, you mentioned you've been in hundreds or something.
Sorry?
You mentioned you've been on hundreds of court cases as an expert witness.
Oh, easily. And I don't know how many times I've been in either Court of Queen's Bench in Manitoba, and I've been in the Superior Court of Justice in Ontario as well.
So you were telling me, why is there an echo? Do you need to mute or me? Okay. You were telling me, Ken, that you felt that you'd be a good person to write this because of your previous times in court. Tell me why you thought that.
Well, I guess we have to go a little bit back from that. When the lockdown started to happen, or sorry, even before that, 2 years ago in the fall, I got an email from one of my sons who told me that the world was coming to an end and the ICU beds in Manitoba were used up, and this was such a terrible crisis. And he and I don't agree on a lot of things, I'm ashamed to say. So I went in and started looking at statistical numbers on that. And of course, and this was 2 years ago. And of course, the statistics I looked at proved that, you know, what the press was saying, what the government was saying about ICU beds at the time wasn't factual at all. As the year progressed and restrictions started to become mandates and lockdowns started to be imposed, and people were losing their businesses, people were losing their livelihoods, people were dying in loneliness in old folks' homes because we weren't allowed to visit them. I like to say that a small, still voice, it came into me, and that small, still voice is the 4'6" wife of mine, Rosalie Drysdale. And she started to say, you know, you did this report on ICU bed usage before. You really should start doing this. We formed a group during the height of the lockdowns. It has about 35 members in it, and everyone wanted to do something but didn't know what. We formed a working group of 4 or 5 people, and the opinion at the time was, you know, there's all these articles in the news, there's the Dr. Zelenkos and all kinds of other people with opinion on it. And when I considered what we were talking about, I knew that no matter what opinion you want, you can find an expert to verify it these days. You know, there's Supreme Court people up for the Supreme Court in the United States that can't define what a woman is. So expert testimony wasn't going to get us where we wanted to get. And so it occurred to me that let's take a look at statistics. Let's take a look at the numbers that Statistics Canada was reporting. And I honestly didn't know where that was going to lead. And when we started to do the analysis of the actual numbers from Statistics Canada, not questioning them, not questioning that, there were 10 deaths from COVID, and really were those deaths from COVID, or were they car accidents where a person was tested and they had COVID? Just like that child in Alberta who died of leukemia, and they tried to call it a COVID death. So we didn't question any of that. We didn't question the testing protocols, which we all know are ridiculously. So we just used the numbers that the Canadian government gave us, and it was shocking. We didn't know what we were going to find, and what we found was absolutely shocking.
Okay, so I mean, this report is so long. How did you figure out where to start? I mean, can we scroll? Norb, is that okay? We're going to scroll through this report. And guys, there's a purpose. I know most of my viewers already know all this stuff, right? But there's a purpose for me bringing Ken on, and that is that this document, you can either print it out or send it via email. Printouts and mail are way more effective, but if you can't do that, okay. This needs to be sent 500,000 times to these politicians' inboxes. And thank you. Someone just gave the name for the transport minister. Thank you, Maria. It's Omar Alghabra. And he's the one that's still coming up with excuses why Canadians can't fly who have not submitted their, jabba jabba. And he needs to be sent this 500,000 times because they need to know that we know. And this report is so excellent. And Ken and I were talking about this. He's using Canada's own statistics. So they can't say it's fake news, correct, Ken?
That's correct.
And so you can even put that at the front. This is using your own statistics, people. So let's just scroll through just how extensive this is. So we'll just read out, I mean, oh yeah, you want the police to act. So requirement for police to act, alleged crimes,
Yeah, what we were intending here was to prepare some kind of a document, taking some inspiration from what happened in Britain, putting together some kind of a document that was not necessarily 100% complete, but it would show without a doubt that crimes had been committed, and present that to the police stations, police forces across Canada, and expect action. And so at this point in time, the report has been sent to all the police stations in Manitoba by registered mail. We're about to start a campaign of physically going to each police station with 2 or 3 people, filming the interaction and demanding what's happened, acknowledgement about what's happened, since we know they've got the report. Getting a police number. When we have that, we'll publish it. And we send it to all of the members of Parliament, Manitoba Legislature, news organizations, all kinds of media. It's gone out to thousands of people. And just like you said, Odessa, if a politician receives a single copy of this from somebody they don't know, they'll ignore it. But if a politician receives this report from 1,000 different people at 1,000 different places, they have to listen, and something must happen.
It's true. And Marilyn Walls says, this is outstanding. How do I help distribute it? Well, it's very easy on Google to find out at least the email addresses of all of the health authority ladies. Aren't they all ladies? Are they all ladies? No, it seems like they are. No. Okay. All health authority people, like ours is Bonnie Henry. And then the transport minister, he needs thousands. The universities, judges, Senate, all the people that we want them to be informed and to know that Canadians know. So Marilyn, you could, if you have a little bit of funding, you could print them out And you could, I mean, it's great to take them to the police stations, but I also think the MPs, the Senate, judges, and the transportation minister, they need to know that we know.
Yes.
And you've done it all for us. How long did this take for you guys to put together?
I think I've spent about 160 hours writing the report itself. And then there's been multiple meetings as to now what do we do next. We had a meeting last night by Zoom, and we have our marching orders for the week about what we want to accomplish this week and who we want to get it out to. And this interview was certainly one of the things that we wanted to accomplish. The more people that know about it, the more people can participate. You know, I was at a rally on the weekend, and one of the things I heard, there was 250 people there. One of the things I kept hearing in the crowd was, "What do we do? Tell us what we can do." Everyone was telling them all the things that had gone wrong. And so one of the messages from us, despite the specific information in the report, is this is something that everyone can do. It doesn't have to cost you anything. You send it by email. You can download it. You can hand it to your minister. You can hand it to your municipal, your mayor or your reeve. It's minutes, and each of you can participate in this. It's so easy.
Yeah, and now is not the time to give up, guys. I know we feel tired, but there's so much truth coming to light. Even the fact that finally the Conservative MPs are finally saying to Elmer, maybe I'm purposely forgetting his name because I know what scum he is. Sorry, I do that. Omar. Oh, here it is. Omar Algebra. The fact that on public, in Parliament, on public TV, they're saying there is no stats anywhere to say that there's any reason you're doing this to the Unvid now. When are you going to end this? We want a date. That would have never happened a year ago.
No.
So no, now is the time. People are listening.
Yeah.
I mean, look at the traction, whether you love him or not, Pierre Poilievre is getting. That is not just truthers, guys. Those political campaigns he's having are like stadium size now. Yeah. That is not the 500 people that come out just to picket on what's going on. So, and whether you like it him or not. So let's get this into the hands. I say our first send should be to the Transport Minister, Omar Algebra. I think after this episode, there should be 2,000 people sending this in.
Yeah, and in addition to that, we're also been planning for, I don't want to say a second stage, but another part of this that will go together hand in hand with it, and that is, we're also working on a second stage, if you will, of this, and it's not really one follows the other, but one starts shortly through the process of the first one being completed, and that is one of the things that I've heard time and time and time again, hundreds and hundreds of times, was that, I've tried to contact my MP or I've tried to contact my MLA and they won't respond to me. When the RCMP, or don't they have a new name now, the Stasi, when they were breaking up the trucker riot, or what they call the trucker riot in Ottawa, I received a beautiful full-color brochure from my member of Parliament, Mr. Vaillant, on Trudeau inflation. And we sent him this report, and I'd sent him a number of letters, and I get these really cool little automated things coming back. You can't get a hold of them. And everyone's having that problem. And so what we're trying to do right now is we're trying to organize in constituencies, and I'm doing it in our local constituency, which is in Manitoba, the Interlake Selkirk Eastman is what it's called. And what we're doing is we're trying to group together 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, we don't know the number yet, 3,000 or 4,000 people who are going to come together as a group and demand that our MP comes and spends time with us personally, one-on-one, 4 times a year, something like that, maybe 5 times a year. And in our federal election last time around, there were 76,000 eligible voters, and about 50,000 voted, and Mr. Vaillant got 23,000 votes. So, and he was 2 times more votes than anybody else. But given that there were 25,000 people that didn't vote, and of the 25,000 that voted for him, a lot are really mad, I think he better start listening to us. And I'm willing to bet that a lot of constituencies in Canada are like that. And if we could just come together, you don't need 100,000 people. You need 1,000 or 2,000 or 3,000. You need a block, and they will listen and they will come, and you'll start to get accountable government. But I'm digressing here.
No, Ken, you know why they can't respond to do with COVID response? I've already investigated this. They're on a gag order, anything to do with it. They're actually on a gag order, and they will lose their jobs if they start going back and forth with us. And that's why what you're doing is great. I'm not saying don't do, but that's why we have to send this in the thousands to all of the important people who make these decisions. They need to know that Canadians know at this point.
Absolutely. And what I was saying is we do these things together. And if they're worried about being fired because of a gag order, they better darn well worry about being fired because we're going to vote them out.
Yeah.
And now is the time, by the way, to start to mobilize that, because when the laws allow the federal government to call a federal election in, what is it, 40 days or 30 days, you can't possibly mobilize over 30 days. So we got to mobilize now, and they darn well better know it. There you go.
True. Okay, so Tanya Rowland's here. Tanya, you're like a queen bee fighter. I've met Tanya down at the Vancouver rallies. She has just provided for everybody the MPs, looks like from all over. But if somebody wants to, while I have Ken on, can you put in the email in the description that Omar, transportation minister's email address? It's easy to find, I'm sure. But he needs to get the ones that are in paper as well.
Yes.
So is there any part of this that you want to specifically talk about? I mean, I just pulled up the pregnancy part, the V's and pregnancy. I mean, it's just criminal.
Yeah, sorry. You know what? Just to give a little more background on this, again, because it was designed initially and to be presented to the police to get an investigation, we set out this report in a certain way. So there's an introduction, which is section 1, and there's a lot of very easy to understand infographics in there that explain numbers, because a lot of times when people see numbers, their eyes roll back. And so in section 1, it's an introduction saying what we're all about. Some of the things that I said previously about, we didn't want to use experts. We wanted to use the numbers as presented by the government. And so that's what section 1 is. Section 2, we're telling the police they are required to act. And we set out, there's quotes and pieces in there out of the Police Services Act. There's pieces out of there about the duties of a police officer, and it sets out why are the police required to act on this. Then section 3 is a listing of alleged crimes that were committed. Again, we're trying to lay this out so that we make it as easy as possible for the police to take action. Section 4 is a list of alleged perpetrators, and we list the people that we identified, and we're saying to the police, or we're saying to the reader, these are some of the people we have identified, but we haven't tried to be complete on this. The purpose of a police investigation is to be complete and find out who all the perpetrators were. Section 5 is the timing of the crimes. And what we're saying is that when the alleged pandemic first hit, is it reasonable to think that out of the starting gate that the officials would know what to do? Now, I just printed this out, and I hope your readers can see it. It's 2 inches thick. It's the Canadian Pandemic Influenza Plan. And there are 9 full pages of people who are in the medical field in Canada that contributed to the preparation of that report. It's 2 inches thick, 551 pages. It was done in 2006. It was headed by Theresa Tam. Bonnie Henry who was the health officer in Toronto at the time, also contributed. Now, so when should they have been expected to be able to act? They had that in hand. Even if you give them some benefit of the doubt there, it would have been very early on that they would have known whether or not they were being effective and what was happening. And so that's what the timing of the crimes. And part 6 gets into the basis for alleging the illegal acts.
Hey, Ken, can you hear us?
I can now, yeah.
Okay, perfect.
We totally got cut off.
Where did it drop?
Luckily, you didn't notice at the beginning of your very long telling us about the report. Am I back on now? Can everyone hear me?
I can hear you. Yeah, I can't see you.
Can anyone else hear me? Marilyn, Cheryl?
Yeah, okay, so they still heard her. Yeah, so it's just your screen is black.
Okay, we don't know what happened. We got cut off. Maybe it was the topic. I don't know.
Just keep talking.
So I can see myself. You can't.
I'm going to try to fix your camera.
So I was gone that whole time, and I'm glad that you filled in. What else should we talk about? Because I missed that.
Let's get into the statistics, because that's what people really want to hear. And I think that's the parts that are going to be shocking to them.
Okay. Do you want to go into that?
Yeah, I can get into it.
Is there a page that you want us to show?
You know what? Go to page 32. It should be a graphic that says 2019 over 70 years old.
Okay, just scrolling down there. Give
Yep.
us a second.
Sorry, Ken, this never happens. We don't get tossed off like this.
Stuff always happens.
Yeah.
There we go.
Okay, so here's page 32.
Okay, I'll start there. Tell me when.
Go ahead.
Okay, so I think it's important that we talk about some of the statistics, because I know most people aren't aware of how significant the lies were that they've been told. On the page that's in front of you, we did an analysis of the odds of dying of COVID for people 70 years of age and older. And we were told that it was almost a death sentence. If you were over 70 years of age and you got COVID, you were going to die. As a matter of fact, people who were dying and wanted to say goodbye to their relatives couldn't, because they were locked out. On this page, you'll see that we compared the number of deaths in 2019, which we'll call a base year because the pandemic had not occurred yet, and we compared it to the total number of deaths reported for that age group by Statistics Canada for all of 2020. So we're comparing the death rate of people 70 years of age and older in 2019 to 2020. In 2019, for people over the age of 70, there were 4.7 million people there in that group. And in 2019, 146,000 of those people died. So the odds of you dying in 2019, if you were over the age of 70 for any cause, was 1 in 32. In 2020, the Canadian government reported a total number of deaths of 14,441 in that age group. When you divide that by the number of people in that age group, which had gone up a little bit, your odds of contracting and dying of COVID were 1 in 324. Keep in mind, your odds of dying for any other cause in 2019, 70 years of age and older, was 1 in 32. Your odds of dying contracting and dying of COVID was 1 in 324. So your odds of simply dying in that age group over the year was 10 times higher than your odds of contracting and dying of COVID. And that's the worst, the worst risk group. And we analyzed it for 2 other groups. If you want to scroll down to page 33.
Okay.
So we looked at if you were under the age of 19 years old. Now keep in mind that there has been no testing on the treatment for those people under the age of 19. So we don't know what the short or long-term effects were. At least we didn't know at the time. We're starting to learn that now. But in 2019, there were 8.1 million people in Canada under the age of 19. And in 2019, 1,365 of those people died. So your odds of dying, if you in 2019, if you were 19 years of age and younger, was 1 in just about 6,000, 1 in 5,963. Statistics Canada also reported there were 2 deaths from COVID in that age group for that year. So your odds of dying from COVID, contracting and dying of COVID, were 1 in 4 million. So your odds of just dying were 1 in 6,000. Your odds in dying from COVID were 1 in 4 million.
Mm-hmm.
Put that in perspective. There were 2 deaths from COVID in that age group. There were 20 deaths from influenza, and that's the third blue table there. So there are 20 deaths from influenza, 316 from accidents, 232 from suicides, murders 43. So the whole COVID thing was not even statistically significant. It was 1 in 4 million. It wasn't statistically significant.
Well,
now,
you know, Ken, let me just interrupt. The great thing about your package here is it's undeniably professional. You're obviously very intelligent. You've used their own stats, even though we know that a lot of people that were, you know, said to have died from the C19 or it was something else. But even with those statistics, this document is so well put together. And interestingly, you decided to stay away from the whole V thing.
yes.
So they couldn't say, oh, this is an anti-Ver. Instead, it's just what we've done as a whole with all the mandates from beginning to now is based on, you know, I don't want to say the word, but frog. So this package, you guys, you can be assured that you're sending something that they cannot deny isn't true. And that's why the last 5 minutes that we would have spent talking, you guys are going to instead get that list and start sending it. And let's start with Omar. And I know I keep saying that, but I want Ken's reason for coming on here to turn into action. This has to be sent to everybody.
Yeah,
okay.
Absolutely. And it's something that it's easy to do. Download the link, copy the link, send it, email it, print it. We've even prepared, and I wish I had them in my hand right now, we prepared little business cards. And on one side of the business card, there's a little picture of the report, and there's some headlines. And on the back, there's a QR code. So you just take your phone and you scan the QR code in the back of that business card, and wham, you've got the report. And we've been handing out hundreds and hundreds of those little business cards. So it's another effective way that we can do it.
Okay. What's the website again, Ken?
There right now there isn't a website, but there is a download site, and you can email me at thetruefactsc19@gmail.com if you want me to send you a copy. Oh, somebody just slipped me a copy of the business cards. So sorry. Okay. So on the front of the business card, whoops, that's what the front looks like.
You guys, it's in my description, I thought.
That's to the drive. That's to this document.
Well, yeah, the document is in the description.
Yeah.
It's on Google Drive. Now, can they send that link to the politicians?
Yes.
Or yeah.
Yes.
That's how you guys have it in the description down below.
Yeah.
So make sure you can just send that to everybody or download it.
You can also download it as a PDF
which I'd recommend you do, because Google has been known to remove documents from their drive.
Yeah. And also, guys, Ken Drysdale is on Facebook. Go find him right now. Add him as a friend. And it's there as well, like 4 down in your thing. Can you reshare it to the top again, Ken?
What's that?
Can you reshare this document to the very top of your feed again?
Oh, sure. Yeah, absolutely. I'll do it as soon as we get off air. Yeah.
And, you know, Ken is from a very intellectual crowd. He doesn't know all of us in this community. This is new to him. So everybody go friend Ken, get the document out, promote this video to everybody, and let them know that we're going to do a mass dump of this info to all the right people. If you're just joining us now, I know I look crazy like I'm a dead angel or something, but we had huge tech problems. Norb had to switch me to his computer at the last second. We don't have time to change the settings. So I know I look bizarre. So yeah, I don't want to keep cutting you off, Ken, as to everything it says, because my audience knows I want people to send this out. Look here, you also have frequency of chronic conditions reported on death certificates where death is due to C19er. So that what are you trying to say there? That's
page 30.
Page 30.
I'm just turning to it myself. Oh, okay. These were graphs and tables that were taken directly from the Canadian government's website. The first one is talking about of the people that died. In the second paragraph there, it says Health Canada was reporting that 46% of all the people that were reported to have died of COVID-19 had 3 or more comorbidities.
Mm-hmm.
And the question that we raised is, and you know, maybe it's worth talking about this just for a second. This item came up to me through the work I do as an engineer. I got hired by somebody to go look at a house they had bought, and there were problems with the house, serious problems. And I went in and looked at it, and the owner was wanting to make the rural municipality responsible for the damage. But when I looked at the house, there were 8, 9, 10 serious things the matter with the house. And so it was like comorbidities. It occurred to me when I looked at this, and they said to me, well, why can't we sue the RM, the rural municipality, for having damaged our house? And I said, because there's 10 other things that were the matter with it. Which one caused the failure? Was it what? And this is similar to COVID. So somebody's got 3 or 4 or 5 serious comorbidities. Might be leukemia, might be cancer, and then they get this magic COVID-19 and they pass away and they blame it on COVID. Just like, to me, just like with this person in his house, I couldn't blame the rural municipality because they'd made a mistake, because there were already 10 things the matter. And had it not been for the 10 things the matter, what the rural municipality did wouldn't have damaged the house. Same with this. You know,
Mm-hmm.
if you didn't have leukemia or cancer and you were dying, if you got this influenza, it wouldn't have killed you. But they're calling it a death from COVID, and no one's doing that analysis.
There's a nurse that used to, she wouldn't take the V, so she was in nursing in old age homes forever, long time, and she said what the news isn't telling you is that once somebody comes to those intensive care, hands-on old age homes, the average lifespan is 2 years.
Yes.
And they usually already have problems when they get there. So the fact they started this whole chaos because people were passing away in there, they're at the end of life anyways. So she found that an odd place to start the chaos of the lockdowns.
Yeah. It was an easy target. It's the same with ICUs. Prior to 2020, at least in Manitoba, your chances of, if you got admitted to an ICU, your chances of being alive 6 months later were your chance of dying within 6 months was 1 in 5. And your chance of being alive still 5, 6 years down the road, or even worse. And again, that's got nothing to do with COVID. That's got to do with when you're in an ICU, it's a serious situation. A large majority of them are people who are very old, and they've got a number of things, and they're at end of life already. And having the health officials take those people, test them for the C19, and then saying they die of it is absolutely ridiculous. I'm not going to pretend I know what was in their minds when they did this, but it certainly goes to their intent, because it doesn't take a university professor in statistics to understand that they were doing something wrong. Well,
the amount of money those institutions are offered to write it down as the C19er, and then if you put them on the vent, it like quadruples. So all of my viewers know this. So, yeah. Okay, what are we going to do, guys? I want to just, usually my shows are an hour, but I want you guys to spend the next however many minutes instead sending this to the transport minister, to Trudeau, to all the MPs, liberals as well, the Senate, any judges. We need to start sending these off. If you guys in each province want to start a little group where you say, okay, let's hammer 10 to this guy right now. Let's hammer 10 to that lady right now. This is the kind of help we need. If everybody had this document in their hand times thousands, I'm sorry, but it would make a difference. The other thing is, now that there's a race for the Conservatives to try to take over in 2025, they're being a lot more ballsy in the House of Commons. I wouldn't doubt somebody saying, you guys, you can't deny these anymore. We need to give the MPs all the ammunition they have in the House of Commons, because not all of them are corrupt. They're just dumb.
No, we elected them. We're dumb.
Yeah, but through a system that is designed to keep us dumb. That's a whole nother episode, Ken. Oh, he's frozen. Is it me?
Oh, and now you're going. I can see you now.
Okay. Okay, Ken. So, guys, go get this document. It's incredible. Go friend Ken on Facebook. So he's going to put this document at the top of the feed again that you can send to everybody. You know, forego a dinner out, print off as many of these copies as you can afford, and send them off in print. I think I'm going to do that to the transport minister today, because I have to go to the post office anyway.
Send it registered mail. You'll have a receipt.
So, Ken, if anybody wants to help you, can they go to your Facebook and private message you? Because not everybody's on Facebook watching this.
Well, you know, they can do that if they friend me on Facebook, but they can also contact me directly through an email address. And that email address is thetruefactsc19@gmail.com.
thetruefactsc19@gmail.com.
Exactly.
Okay. Is there anything else you want to tell us before that I haven't had a chance to talk to you about?
You know, in talking with people and attending rallies, I'm really starting to get the feeling that folks are starting to despair even more now. You know, they don't see the coverage of the trucks in Ottawa anymore, even though there's thousands of people there. There's thousands of people in front of the legislatures across the country. People are looking for something to do. They want to be a part of this. They want to save their country. They want to protect their children and their grandchildren. This is something you can do. The hard work has been done. Copy this. Give it to anyone you can think of that even your neighbor, walk it over your neighbor, because maybe they know somebody. Maybe they know some powerful people. Get it out there. If we can get it out there thousands and tens of thousands of times, you know, I've already heard from a number of people, number of organizations. They've contacted me and they said, you know, we contacted you because this document's come out of nowhere, and we've gone in for 3 or 4 or 5 different sources, and we want to know what it's about. Mm-hmm. That's what we want to do. That's what we want to do across the country.
And I think, guys, Ken spent, 180 hours? I think we can get off our butts and spend, you know, a little part of a day getting this out. Don't you think, Ken?
Absolutely. And if you really want, I can get my little wee small voice, my wife, to get in here and inspire you the way she did to me.
Yeah.
You know, the level of terror in this country, not only from the sea, but from the government, is shocking to me. My wife is a singer performer, and some months ago she did a music video called Secrets. And it didn't say anything specific, but it was about government corruption. And you know, minutes before it was to be released worldwide, many of the artists who performed on it, musicians, you know, came to me and said, take my name off it. I don't want my name on that. Because they were terrified of what the consequences might be in our democratic free country would be to them.
Yeah.
It was at that time that I really understood what the very base terror was. It wasn't with the sea. It was with the reparations from the government, losing your job, not being able to go to something, being shunned by your friends. It's incredible. It's so shocking. Well,
it's all on purpose because it gets people to shut up.
Yeah.
And we can't be fearful of that.
It's the very definition of terrorism.
When you're doing the right thing for God, for the universe, whatever you want to call it, you will be taken care of. It may take a few months, but you'll find something else. You will be taken care of. This is more important right now, because we're all going to be hooped in 10 years, no matter what you don't do right now in the way of whistleblowing. We're all going to be screwed. So may as well do it now. Now, lastly, Ken, you were really hoping that people would send this to the local police, like we have Vancouver Police Department and RCMP. You still want them to mail it in as well, right? To the local precincts? Okay.
Mail it everywhere you can think. Again, the document was prepared to go to the police, and it was set out that way as a legal document. So send it to police, send it to your minister, send it to your community club leader, your neighbor. Get it out there, and encourage other people to do it as well.
Do you know what's interesting is this is what happens when corrupt elites, we like to call them parasites. Norb was watching something or reading something. So, you know, when it's all the truth is coming out and then these rodents, they start to turn on each other.
Yeah.
Well, it was nice today, Norb, the government, the Trudeau government, Trudeau said, well, we were just taking advice from the police while we did the emergency order. So is it Lucky? Who was
Lucky, the RCMP.
So the RCMP head lady, Lucky, made a statement back. We have no idea what he's talking about. We were never asked our opinion. This conversation never happened for any of our departments. So now you've got Trudeau and the head of RCMP doing this in front of all of us. This is what happens. They have to, it's not even turning on each other. If she's telling the truth, she's telling the truth. But it's now his word against the head of RCMP publicly. So things are looking good in the way of disclosure.
Yeah, and we've now gotten judicial ruling on the disclosure with Bonnie Henry and Dina Henshaw in Alberta, where I believe the judges ruled that their assumed right of privacy does not overrule the right of Canadians to know. And you know, I watched some of Dina Henshaw's testimony in court. It was streamed live, and I couldn't believe the things I was hearing. I mean, I believed I heard her say, when she was asked what information did she rely on to make these mandates, and I believe she said, I just followed Quebec and BC. So I don't know why the heck we had her in there.
They're doing that too. They're blaming the government. The government's blaming them.
Yeah.
And they all just look like absolute imbeciles that they are, because they know this was not based on science. So that's awesome too. A little update. Tanya Gaw, about a week ago, told me that the Rocco case for BC, Rocco Galati, they're back in court, I believe, May 30th. That's what she told me a week ago. I should ask her again. So that is continuing slowly, slowly.
Yeah. And that's really good. I mean, you know, they not only misled you as Canadians, but they had a plan in place, a 551-page plan in place that there was 9 pages of contributors, and a lot of them are still in the medical profession now, where they did the opposite. You know, their own report, and the Canadian Influenza report under Section 7, and there's excerpts of it in my report that say, don't do masking. Do masking if you kind of want to show the public you're accomplishing something. And they said, don't do quarantining. It said it doesn't work. Once it's in the community, it doesn't work. And they also, by the way, they stockpiled 2 antiviral drugs across Canada. And somebody could confirm me on this, but I believe they spent between $28 and $30 million stockpiling 2 specific antivirals for this, which they never used.
That's correct. I remember the maker of these saying, why are they not using this? What have they done? They're just blocking them.
Yes.
And don't get me into, you know, the horse paste. I've used it many a time and I'm still here, baby. I'm sure the Liberals would like to see me die off, but nope, I've got my horse paste.
Well, you know, if you listen to what Trudeau said on Quebec radio last fall, and that to me was really chilling. And it actually, in my opinion, met the requirements for hate speech when he said, and I'm just looking, I had the quote in here in my report, but now it's gotten lost. But essentially he said, he was talking about those people who chose not to participate in the experiment. And he said, they are extremists who don't believe in science. They are misogynists, racists, and often small group that muscles in. And then he says, and this is the chilling thing, do we tolerate these people?
Yep, I remember that.
To me, that's hate speech. It's identifying a group and counseling other people to do something to them, to not call
it. He became very infamous all over the world because he said that right before the truck convoy too. Or we could show his own statistics from his own Health Canada that he's a effing imbecile. Right, Trudeau?
They all are. In the province, in the feds. I don't know where we found so many deficient people to run our government. It's
And you know, Ken, Trudeau is so spiteful that we were right. And that's why he's keeping these travel mandates the only place in the world. He knows that we don't, you know, spread and all that stuff, especially now. He's doing it for spite. He doesn't care because he hates us that we were so loud about it.
Well, you know, Brian Peckford has started to talk about the number of letters and emails he's been getting from Canadians across the country who have had terrible accidents trying to drive on the highways in winter conditions because they couldn't fly. And, you know, I heard that. And 2 days later, my wife and I had to drive to Windsor, Ontario from Winnipeg. That's a 28-hour drive if you can't go through the United States. And we had an accident on the highway where we totaled our vehicle and the police said, we don't know how you're alive. And when that happened, I remember thinking about Brian Peckford talking about all of the people. And I thought about it. I thought, yeah, but it's true. It is true. We wouldn't have been on that highway. Who the heck would have done a 28-mile drive during the wintertime? We have to say goodbye to a dying uncle, a beloved dying uncle.
But unfortunately, Ken, don't tell Trudeau these things are happening on the highways because it'll excite him that we're dying. So let's keep that between us. Oh, yeah, you didn't. Correct. He just can't get you, Ken.
Not yet.
Okay, one last time, guys. Go to Ken Drysdale on Facebook. He's got this document there. The document is also in my description. You're going to send it, you and 10 friends, to the transport minister, to all the MPs. Start with the transport minister. Then if you need a little break, have your coffee and send it to everybody else. Bonnie Henry, you know, and still the RCMP, it's true. There are lots and lots of cops that are waking up. I know people sometimes hate them, but they're not all bad. There are so many police that are over this junk. There was a statement made recently, I shared it on my Telegram, by a very high up police officer in another province. Was it Alberta? I can't remember. Who said, we're done with this. We are not going to go out. We're keeping our oath. This is garbage. So send it away, guys. The worst thing that could happen is nothing, but you've put it out to the universe. That's all that matters.
Yeah, and if anybody knows Brian Peckford, get it to him too, because knowing these statistics will help him in his argument. Watching the lawyers who were very good lawyers in cross-examining Dina Henshaw of Alberta, I was kind of like the frustrated old guy watching football. You know, no, you got to ask this.
Yeah.
And I sent it to one of the lawyers as well, but I think it was at the tail end, and I quite frankly don't know. It just came from some crazy person in Winnipeg or outside of Winnipeg, so maybe they didn't even look at it. I don't know. But that's where you all come in. Yes.
Yep. Okay, let's do it. Thank you so much, Ken. Let's keep in touch. If you need anything from me, libertytalkcanada@gmail.com. And sorry about the tech problems.
It always happens. It's not a problem.
Okay. Take care.
Bye-bye.